Welcome to Making a Murderer, Rubberducky video channel. We're back. I'm not up to 100%. I still do have bronchitis. Most of these reads were recorded ahead of time, but the introductions as well as reviews were not. And so I just decided to take the week off and catch my breath, literally. I do so appreciate that you guys are staying with me on the daily MaM reading, and this is CASO Investigative Report, Part 105, page 1041. Type of activity: contact with Avery defense witnesses. Date of activity: 01/12/07 through 01/25/07. Reporting officer investigator John Dietering. Documents generated: none. On the following dates and times, I did contact the following Avery defense witnesses regarding their possible testimony in the upcoming Avery trial. 01/12/07 at 10:30 hours, Anjanette Levy, reporter, WFRV-TV. Levy advised me she had been contacted by the defense and was advised she may be needed for rebuttal in the event the prosecution does not stipulate to statements made about not having any blood evidence. She stated she will be asked to testify to the fact that footage aired by WFRV-TV is not doctored or edited. 01/17/07 at 16:15 hours, Olga Holoberta, reporter, WFRV-TV. Holoberta has not been contacted by the defense regarding this matter. Holoberta did receive an email from Anjanette Levy mentioned above regarding this matter. Holoberta indicated she was at the news conference and did ask the first question in the news conference where this was mentioned. She indicated she was mentioned by name by Special Prosecutor Kratz. 01/17/07 at 16:20 hours, Conrad O. Bates, defense investigator. Bates suggested I call Dean Strain's office to learn more about his testimony. 01/17/07 at 16:30 hours, Kim J. Ducat, 1212 Hawthorne Street, Two Rivers, Wisconsin. Ducat advised me she had called in a tip to Two Rivers Police Department the day Teresa's truck was located. She indicated she gave someone at Two Rivers Police Department the tip of looking in the incinerator. She stated she grew up with Steven Avery and personally believes we are barking up the wrong tree. She then went on to indicate he was in prison for 18 years and she does not really know how this might have changed him. She stated she did talk to Steven's investigator about this matter. 01/18/07 at 14:45 hours, Megan M. Kroll. Kroll stated she cannot think of any reason why she would be subpoenaed by the defense regarding this matter. She stated she was Teresa's best friend in college as well as a roommate. She has not been spoken to by the defense about this matter. She stated she learned of Teresa's disappearance through friends who had called her. She stated she was not in the state of page 1042, Wisconsin, when Teresa went missing. Kroll preferred not to divulge any information concerning her current address. 01/17/07 at 16:45 hours, attempt to contact Brenda Bohm. I was advised by Brenda's stepmother she is currently in Malaysia and has been so since July 2006. Prior to her assignment in Malaysia, she was in Sydney, Australia. Bohm's stepmother has no idea as to why Brenda would be on the defense witness list. Bohm's mother indicated Brenda was a friend of Teresa's and worked with her for some time. 01/25/07 at 9:45 hours, Kenneth J. Hone. Hone indicates he is currently with the Peace Corps in Costa Rica and has no idea why he would be on the defense list. He stated he has not been contacted by the defense as of yet. He further indicated his parents, who live in the state of Wisconsin, have not been contacted either. He did state he was a friend of Teresa's during college and for some time after college. Investigation continues. Investigator John Dietering, Calumet County Sheriff's Department. Page 1043. Type of activity: interview of Thomas John Bouchard, male, white. Date of activity: 01/24/07. Reporting officer investigator Gary Steyer. On Wednesday, 01/24/07, at approximately 9:41 a.m., I, Investigator Steyer, along with Investigator Wendy Baldwin, both of the Calumet County Sheriff's Department, interviewed Thomas John Bouchard, male, white, date of birth 12/28/54, at the address of 820 Redfin Court, Manitowoc County, Wisconsin. Thomas Bruchart had reported to the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department that a Roger R. Randunes had told him he was in prison with Steven Avery. Randunes informed Bruchart that after Steven Avery was released, some other inmates at the prison broke into the prison hospital, stole the vial of Steven Avery's blood, and then turned the blood over to Randunes, who was being released from prison. Randunes indicated he had befriended Brendan Dassey, and Randunes and Dassey would watch Steven Avery's whereabouts around the Avery salvage property. Bruchart stated Randunes went on to tell him that Randunes had come upon Teresa Halbach, who had run out of gas on I-43. He had tried to have sex with her. She refused, and he killed her. After this was completed, he placed Teresa Halbach's vehicle at the Avery salvage yard with Avery's blood, which he had stolen from prison, inside Teresa Halbach's vehicle. Investigator Baldwin and I met Thomas Bruchart at the residence of 820 Redfin Court, Manitowoc County. Thomas Bruchart indicated he was waiting for investigators to speak with him about the incident. Bruchart stated he was given a ride by Roger Randunes in Roger Randunes' white van when Randunes informed Bruchart of the story he had told the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department. Bruchart stated he had met Roger Randunes at the Salvation Army in the city of Green Bay. Randunes took Bruchart for a ride in his van, and while riding with Randunes in his van, told him the story that Randunes and Steven Avery were in the same prison. Bruchart did not know which prison Randunes was referring to. Bruchart said Randunes stated the inmates at the prison were mad at Steven Avery. Bruchart indicated the blood was stolen by the inmates and given to Randunes along with very small cameras. This was used to set up Steven Avery for the murder of Teresa Halbach. Bruchart was unclear how the miniature cameras were used in the setup of Steven Avery, but indicated they make very small cameras, which were, page 1044, given along with the blood to Roger Randunes when he left the prison. Bruchart indicated Roger Randunes was a very dangerous man. Randunes would watch the back way to Steven Avery's property, and when Steven Avery would leave is when Roger Randunes would move in and set up Steven Avery. Bruchart contradicted himself by indicating that state inmates have a code. When asked further about the code, Bruchart stated Randunes, being a state inmate, would have a code like a code of silence. It would not speak about this to anyone other than to other inmates about what had taken place. Bruchart stated, however, Randunes had confided in him inside Randunes' van. Bruchart was asked when this conversation had taken place inside the van between himself and Randunes. Bruchart estimated it to be a warm day and told investigators he believed September 2005. Investigator Steyer informed Bruchart that Teresa Halbach had not been killed until later that year and was still alive in September 2005. Bruchart then indicated he thought it was in the fall or December of 2006. Bruchart indicated he was scared of Randunes, who was always known to have a knife or a gun on him. Bruchart indicated he was so scared to be in the van, he got out of the van and stayed at a village inn. Bruchart indicated Randunes was a trucker. Bruchart stated he did not know the whereabouts of Roger Randunes and was trying to locate where he was. Randunes believed Roger Randunes was related to the family who owned the Randet gravel pit south of the Avery property. Bruchart indicated he had never been in prison, but had spent some time in the Winnebago Resource Center approximately 20 years ago. The female subject who was present, who wished not to be identified only by her first name of Sandra, indicated she also knew Roger Randunes. She indicated she contacted her son, Travis LeMay, approximately 32 years of age, by cell phone and asked her son, Travis, if he knew where Randunes was. According to Sandra, Travis told her over the phone that Roger Randunes was trouble and Thomas Bruchart should stay away from him. Sandra also indicated Travis said he had beaten up Roger Randunes once and did not like him. Sandra also indicated Travis stated he had not seen Roger Randunes since. Sandra indicated Roger Randunes was never a truck driver but drove a white panel van, which he drove with stolen goods in the back. Sandra indicated Roger Randunes would steal stuff and transport the stolen items in his van. She described it as a white moving truck, like a U-Haul type. The interview ended at approximately 10 o'clock a.m. Page 1045. Investigator Carrie Steyer, Calumet County Sheriff's Department. Page 1046. Type of activity, interview of Roger R. Randunes, male white. Date of activity, 01/26/07. Reporting officer, investigator Gary Steyer. On Friday, 01/26/07, I, Investigator Steyer, along with Investigator Wendy Baldwin, both of the Calumet County Sheriff's Department, did interview Roger R. Randunes, male white, date of birth 11/09/42, at his apartment complex of 1325 North 8th Street, Manitowoc, Wisconsin. Investigators identified themselves as from the Calumet County Sheriff's Department and informed Randunes they were investigating the Teresa Habach murder. Randunes indicated he had nothing to say. Investigator Steyer informed Randunes, an individual who he had given a ride in his van, had told investigators a story. Randunes remembered the individual, describing him as a guy from Two Rivers. Randunes also indicated the guy was always in jail. Randunes was asked if he knew Steven Avery. Randunes replied he only knew him from the junkyard. Randunes was asked if he was ever in prison with Steven Avery. Randunes indicated he probably was in prison at the same time as Steven Avery, but never had contact with him. Randunes indicated no one ever had given him anything to take out of prison, nor had anyone given him blood to take out of prison. Randunes indicated he was out of prison before anything like that had ever happened. Randunes stated he was familiar with the story Investigator Steyer began to explain to him, the story of prison inmates smuggling Steven Avery's blood out of prison. Randunes denied having any mutual acquaintances between himself and Steven Avery while in prison. Randunes then informed investigators he was in Manitowoc County Jail with Steven Avery the first time Steven Avery was charged with a rape case in the 1980s. Randunes indicated he was in the same cell block as Steven Avery, but did not speak with him, nor was he in the same cell as Steven Avery. Randunes said no other inmates would have been talking with Steven at the time because they were both in isolation. No other inmates were in the same cell as himself, nor was anyone else in Steve Avery's cell. Page 1047. Randunes denied ever being aware of any blood from Steven Avery while he was in the Manitowoc County Jail or while Steven was in prison. Randunes indicated he was not aware about it, and DNA was not even talked about back then. Randunes denied telling a story about Steven Avery's blood to Thomas Burchard. Randunes also denied ever having met or having contact with Teresa Habach. Randunes indicated Thomas Burchard had probably told the story to get Roger Randunes in trouble. Randunes did recall giving Thomas Burchard a ride in the winter of 2005. Randunes stated in the fall of 2005 he was a truck driver for Dedicated Systems. Randunes indicated he was an over-the-road truck driver and was never in the area. He indicated his truck driving would take him to Texas, Florida, Louisiana, and Atlanta. Randunes indicated when he did return from his truck driving routes, he was only in the area 1 or 2 days and he would be gone again with an over-the-road delivery. Randunes indicated he lived in his truck semi-trailer at the time he worked for Dedicated Systems. Randunes indicated he did not have a home address, only a P.O. box at the time. Randunes indicated he did have all of his logbooks to show where he was back in 2005. When Investigator Steyer asked to see his logbooks in his apartment and asked if his logbooks were in his apartment, Randunes indicated he did not want to answer that because they were probably get stolen now. Investigator Steyer then showed Randunes his badge and produced for Randunes a photo ID of a Calumet County Sheriff's Department employee as well as a Wisconsin driver's license. Randunes then indicated he was okay in believing I worked for law enforcement. Randunes was again asked if he had told the story to Thomas Burchard of how he smuggled Steven Avery's blood out of prison. Randunes again denied the implication that he was involved in Teresa Habach's murder or framing Steven Avery. Randunes indicated he would not have been asked by prison inmates to help carry blood out because he was friendly with the guards. Randunes indicated his being on the good side of the prison guards allowed him to work with tools and do maintenance. Randunes indicated he would never do anything like that to start with because it would break his trust with the guards and he would not have been allowed to use the tools in the maintenance position. Randunes indicated the story was a lie and that Thomas Burchard was a liar. Randunes indicated Burchard had asked him for $20 during the time he had given him a ride in the fall of 2005. Randunes indicated he did not know Teresa Habach and he had not killed Teresa Halbach. Randuns indicated he had been at the Avery salvage yard looking for parts prior to Teresa Halbach's disappearance. Randuns stated he hung around with page 1048, Al Avery, but did not hang around with, nor was he friends with Steven Avery or any of his brothers. Randuns indicated the only thing he had to do with the Averys was on a previous occasion he had gotten parts from the Avery salvage yard. That was the only thing he had in common with Steven Avery. Randuns indicated the last time he had been at the Avery salvage yard, he had looked for a power steering pump for his van. He indicated the Avery brothers were too busy to wait on him. He did find a van, however. He did not purchase the power steering pump from the Avery salvage yard. Randuns indicated he believes the last time he had been at the Avery salvage yard was to buy the power steering pump, which had been in September 2005. Randuns was asked by investigators if he had ever helped a stranded motorist on I-43. Randuns indicated he could recall helping a stranded Sheboygan motorist in a canteen truck. Randuns was asked if he had ever given Teresa Halbach a ride. Randuns indicated not that he remembered. Randuns was asked if he knew what Teresa Halbach looked like. Randuns indicated he had seen a picture of her in the paper. Randuns stated he still would not be sure if he had given a ride because of the way women can change their hair. Randuns indicated there was a time when he worked out in Washington State for a manpower company. Randuns indicated there were two girls that worked for manpower with different names. Randuns indicated they turned out to be the same individual. Randuns then indicated the woman had changed her name 3 times, but was the same woman, just using 3 different names. Randuns indicated he had gone to this place too many times and had noticed this female using multiple names. Randuns then indicated that if Investigator Baldwin were to shave her head, he would not recognize her. Randuns indicated a lot of blacks do that now. They have their hair up, and the next time you see them in the same spot, they are bald. Randuns indicated he had never picked up a white female on I-43 who was a stranded motorist or given assistance to a white female. Randuns indicated he did not kill Teresa Halbach, and there would not be any reason for him to do that. Randuns also denied taking Teresa Halbach's body and placing it by Steven Avery's trailer in an attempt to frame Steven Avery. Randuns also indicated he did not take any of Steven Avery's blood and place it on the Avery compound in an attempt to frame Steven Avery. Randuns theorized that someone with motive would have done the murder. Randuns lacked motive. Randuns indicated he did not need a business card from Investigator Steyer because he knew that he was a police officer, and if he had any information, he could call the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department or Calumet County Sheriff's Department. Page 1049. The interview ended at approximately 1:03 p.m. The Roger Randuns interview was recorded. The recorded CD was placed into evidence. As investigators were leaving the apartment complex, Investigator Steyer did notice a white van with a Wisconsin registration of 626JNP. Vehicle registration check of the van listed to a Roger Randuns. Investigator Steyer and Investigator Baldwin were able to look through the numerous van windows into the interior of the vehicle. Investigator Steyer and Investigator Baldwin did not observe any dried blood stains or any substance that would appear to be blood-like. Investigator Gary Steyer, Calumet County Sheriff's Department. Page 1050. Type of activity comparison of prison locations for Roger Randuns and Steven Avery. Date of activity 01-2507. Reporting Officer Investigator Gary Steyer. On Thursday, 01-2507, I, Investigator Steyer, used WillNet, a law enforcement website for the state of Wisconsin, to determine Wisconsin Department of Corrections locations for Steven A. Avery and Roger R. Randuns. Both records from the Department of Corrections were printed and are attached to this report. I compared the correction facilities where Steven Avery and Roger Randuns were located during their time of incarceration. In comparing the locations, Roger Randuns and Steven Avery were not incarcerated in the same facility at the same time. Information provided on the Offender Doc State Wisconsin U.S. website shows Roger R. Randuns was incarcerated from 09/01/81 at WCI Reception to 10/02/81, where he was incarcerated at Waupun proper. Randuns stayed at Waupun proper from 10/02/81 to 06/02/83, where he was transferred to Fox Lake until 10/08/03. On 10/08/03, he was returned to Waupun proper for release on 07/24/84. Reduce was again incarcerated on 05/22/86 at Dodge Reception until 07/17/86. He was moved to Waupun proper and released 08/11/87. On 04/18/91, Reduce was again at Dodge Reception until 06/13/91, when he was returned to Waupun proper until 08/02/93. He was moved Kettle Marine Institution until 12/15/98, at which time he was released. Steven A. Avery records of the location of his incarceration showed 11/29/82 Dodge Reception. He was moved out of the court appearance on 12/22/82 and returned on 12/23/82 to Dodge Reception. He stayed at Dodge Reception until 01/28/83, where he moved to Kettle Moraine. On 06/21/83, he was moved to WCCS SP Powers, where he stayed until 08/12/83 when he was released. On 03/18/86, Avery was again in Dodge Reception until 04/25/86 when he was moved to the Green Bay CI until 05/20/86. On 05/20/86, he was moved to the Manitowoc County Jail for court and returned from Manitowoc County on 05/21/86 to Green Bay. Steven Avery was moved from Green Bay again for court on 07/11/86 to Manitowoc County and then returned from Manitowoc County to Green Bay Correctional on 07/14/86. Avery stayed at Green Bay Correctional until 04/19/94, where he was moved to Fox Lake Correctional Institute until... Let's start our review. It's a very short review. On page 1041, type of activity, contact with Avery defense witnesses. Okay, so they go through a list of witnesses, which is the media and the defense investigator, as well as some friends of Teresa. But what caught my eye was when Kim J. Duquette, Ducat. She is the cousin of Stephen, and she states, or at least this report states, that she called in a tip to Two Rivers, the police department, the day Teresa's truck was located. She stated that she gave someone the tip that they should look in the incinerator, and she stated she grew up with Steven Avery and personally believes believes we are barking up the wrong tree, meaning the police. So I wonder what tree she thinks they should be barking up. And why does she feel the incinerator? And this would have been much after the Sikiki note. So did she write the Sikiki note? Does she actually know something? Then we get into the whole Tom Brouchard. Now, he goes on and he says that Randoots indicated he had befriended Brendan Dassey. When? After school? Or is he talking about Bobby Dassey? And then Randoots goes on to say a whole bunch of stuff. And then they interview Roger Randoots, who says he has no phone number. And when it's all boils down to it, Wiegert actually checks, and in comparing the locations that Roger Randoots and Steven Avery, they were not incarcerated in the same facility at the same time. So does that get everybody off the hook here? Well, it sure does make it sound like it wouldn't have been the truth, So I think we're dealing with a lot of hearsay, and that's all we've got for on that read. But stay with me and we'll continue. And thank you for giving me a week off. My bronchitis is healing quite well. I'm not up to 100%, but I'm able to do some of this. I was able to record some of the reads before I got sick, but I wasn't able to do the work in loading the program into the system and doing the reviews. Thank you for joining me this week for the Daily MaM Reading, Part 105. And, as we go forward, we'll have to see if there's something else that we can read when we've completed this. But we're back at it, and we're back on track this week. The read itself had been pre-recorded, so you don't have to listen to me with bronchitis. However, the review and such was not. So hopefully, I'm getting better every day. And that's just what it takes is some time. I thank you for staying with me. And with that, you guys, if you didn't do the crime, you shouldn't do the time. Thank you and have a lovely night, and hopefully I'll see you tomorrow.